our first free Xero training session. Today we are talking to you about how to fix the statement balance and how to fix the statement balance fast in a Xero file. My name is Jerry Murphy and I am your Xero trainer today. I'm also joined by Angela Sibley, who is my fellow trainer on a recent course that we've created called Become an Expert Bookkeeper. And this session today is one of the most important things that every single Xero advisor and Xero user needs to know, which is it is so super important that this statement balance is right. Okay, and I'm going to tell you why shortly. So what are we covering in this session? We're going to cover why is the statement balance so important. We're also going to cover what is the statement balance and how to fix the statement balance. Okay, so there's a really important side of understanding why first and what it is before we can fix it. So let's jump into my Xero file, and just as we look at the dashboard, I'm going to take you through some of the key things that we need to talk about. Okay, so one of my favorite things to say here at this point is that every single time I open a Xero file, every single time, whenever I open it with a client, and I taught this to those that joined us on the session on Thursday called How to Review a Xero File and Make Money Doing It. The very first thing I ever ask when I open a Xero file is, okay, is that statement balance for that bank account right? So for example here, is this what was in your business bank account? I asked the person that owned the Xero file, was this amount here, that's minus 5172, was that the amount that was in the Xero file as at this date? And if they say no, I'm guaranteed that I have work to do. I can help them with the something in their Xero, right? So they need help. We don't necessarily know what it is yet. The client and I don't know what the problem is, but we know there's a problem if the statement balance is not correct. So let's understand what the statement balance is. The statement balance that shows here should be the amount that was in the bank account as at the date listed next to it. Now this is generally yesterday, okay, or the last time the bank feed came in, and the transactions on that bank feed is generally the amount, the transaction from the day before, okay? If there's been no transactions the day before, then the bank feed will have still tried to come through, but it doesn't come through if there's no transaction. So that date, for example here, we've got 29th of March, that is probably the last date that a transaction could come in. It doesn't mean the bank feed didn't work on the 30th of March, it just means that that was the last time a transaction dated that came in. So sometimes you might open a file to something like a savings account, and it will say that the statement balance as at this date, as at say the 3rd of March was X amount, and you might look at that and think, oh, that doesn't look right. It's not saying the 30th of March, it's saying the 3rd of March, but that's because the last transaction was the 3rd of March. The last transaction date in the bank feed file was the 3rd of March, okay? So even looking at the date doesn't really matter. It's about what this balance is. So the number one thing, most valuable thing you can teach your clients when they start using Xero is always keep an eye on this statement balance. Because if that balance is the amount that it was actually in the account yesterday, or the last time the feed came in, but usually yesterday, then that means that all you need to do is reconcile the transactions that are sitting here. So if your statement balance is right, you can reconcile those transactions, then your balance in Xero should match your statement balance, and you can be sure that the information of your bank statement in your balance sheet is right, and as long as your coding is right and everything is correct when you do your coding and your GST, etc., then the accuracy of your file and the confidence that you can have in your numbers is maximized hugely because you've got that statement balance right. Okay, so that's why it's so important to have this statement balance right. Now, that's all well and good. Thanks, Jerry. Maybe you knew that already. But how do we fix it? And how do we fix it fast if we need to fix it? Xero tends to spend a lot of their time in their training, and I'm sure many of you have done partner certification. There's lots of you on the line today that I know are Xero certified advisors. And a lot of Xero's training focuses on the difference between these two numbers, between the balance in Xero and the statement balance. But they don't put a huge emphasis on the statement balance itself being right. And the reason why I can confidently stand here today or sit here today and tell you that this is a continual problem for clients is because I fix people's Xero files all the time. One of my jobs and one of my services is to review Xero files for people. So that means that almost, I think about 85% of the time when I review a Xero file for someone, if they haven't had a good advisor and bookkeeper who knows this prior, you open the statement balance, ask them that question, they'll say, no, that balance is not right. Or maybe this one's right, but that one's wrong. It's just never been right. Okay? So this is a common problem, which is why we need to know how to fix it. So as you can see, I focus on the statement balance first. And if we get that right, then everything else will start coming together once we get that right. The other thing, not just in relation to being able to keep our statement balance, knowing our statement balance is right is going to give us confidence in the numbers when we reconcile all of the transactions in between, because then we should know that there's no missing transactions. But it also can give your clients confidence with the bank feed and that it's working. Now I say this as a separate point to what I already said, because people starting out on Xero get worried that the bank feed's just not going to work, or how are they going to know because they don't understand it, or they connect up their bank feed with their internet banking transactions and it's all just a bit too new, a bit too foreign for them, and they get a bit worried about it. How am I going to know that it's right? And that's the number one thing that will help them know that it's right. So if you're not teaching your clients to check on it whenever they open their Xero file, and to know that if they check on it, that it means they're going to find any problems straight away with the bank feeds, then you need to start doing that now, okay? All right. So there's my little introduction of my importance of how this has come about and why we need to know this. So let's just do a brief introduction of what I think you already know about the two balances, balance in Xero and the statement balance. I'm not going to spend much time on it because this is stuff that we've done in Partner Cert and Xero has all over the place. And if you don't know it, that's okay, because I'm about to tell you. So what is the difference between the statement balance and the balance in Xero? The statement balance represents the calculated statement balance. What this means is that it's taking the conversion balance that you put into the conversion balances screen and any included statement lines. That's it. So if your statement balance is wrong, the two places we need to check are the conversion balance and the included statement lines. Bet you no one's put it that simply for you, but that's what we need. Conversion balance and included statement lines. All right? In a minute, we're going to go over the 4 reasons why you how to find the included statement lines and fix them and check them, but that's the key thing. It's just your conversion balance and the included statement lines. Then the balance in Xero represents all the transactions created in the ledger for this balance, for this account, okay? So when you don't have all of your transactions reconciled, like this one here, the reconciled 28 items, when they're not all reconciled, then you are always going to have a difference between the balance in Xero. And if you have a difference between your balance in Xero and your statement balance after you have reconciled all your statement lines, then it means that you're going to still have a difference because there's other transactions that have been put on the ledger that haven't come through on your statement, okay? Xero has plenty of information in the Help Center all about that. Here today, I'm here to talk to you about how to fix the statement balance by recognizing the correct way to do the conversion balance and the correct way to identify and ensure that all statement lines have been included correctly. All right. So let's start with the conversion balance. So where's the conversion balances? Under settings, we go to settings, general settings, and conversion balances. Now I'm not going to go into all of the other tips and tricks that we have in relation to conversion balances. converting to Xero from any other system can be a complicated process, and there's lots of little tips and tricks to know about converting. I'm just focusing on bank statements today. The conversion process of exactly all the tips and tricks that we have in relation to how to convert successfully and without the headache from one system to Xero is in our Be an Expert Bookkeeper course, which is, we'll tell you a little bit more about at the end, but there's a massive session right at the beginning of Become an Expert Bookkeeper, because we know how important it is and how many things people struggle with, not just with the bank statements, but with the whole conversion process. So we're going through all of that in the Become an Expert Bookkeeper course. But if you've done Partner Cert with Xero, you would know that when you open up the conversion balances screen, the one thing that we drill into you all the time is that the bank balance amounts that are in here, so whatever you put in here as being the conversion date, whatever your conversion date is, the bank account balances in here, be it debit or credit, and we're not just talking about bank accounts, we're talking about credit card and PayPal as well, but I'm just using bank account as a general term. The bank account balances that we put in here must be the paper statement balance, not the balance that was in your trial balance on your general ledger in your previous accounting system. Maybe they're the same, but I actually don't care. I don't care what was the balance in the accounting system as at this point in time. You can put, just like in this example here, you can put these balances in and have just these balances in here and not even have an old accounting system ready to put into Xero yet. So when you come into this into here, you know your conversion date, you pick up your bank statements, your physical bank statements and credit card or PayPal, pick it up, look at the paper statement balance, find the paper statement balance and put it in here. By paper statement balance, I mean this file here has a conversion date of the 27th of December, because it's just a demo file that I reset. It's picked up 27th of December. You would pick up the bank statement, you would scroll down, find the running balance of that account, the closing balance of that account on the 27th of December, and you put it in here. That's it. That's all you need to know about getting that right for here. Okay? So conversion balance must be the paper statement balance. All right. So that's how we get the paper statement balance right initially, the conversion balance. Remember, the statement balance represents the conversion balance plus any included statement lines. That's how we get the conversion balance part right. So if your statement balance is wrong, don't bother going anywhere else until you've come here and done this first. Know the conversion date, know the balance of each account, written the closing balance on that account on each day, put it in here, save it, and go back and check if it's right. So once we've done this, we go back to our dashboard and we go, did that fix our statement balance? And you either check your papers, your client's statements if you have them, or you'd ask your client, now, okay, is that right? And I've done this before. I've fixed the statement balance for clients with a big gap of issues in it, where we found issues, and we were able to fix it whilst we were reviewing the Xero file at the same time, because that was the key problem. Sometimes that's the case. That's the key problem. Generally, you can work out if that's a massive problem. Obviously, you can fix it straight away if it is. But if there was, if they say the statement balance has always been wrong, and it's always been wrong by a lot, then usually it's going to be the conversion balance. Okay, so that's the conversion balance piece. All right. Now let's talk about the other side of it, of the equation. Any included statement lines. Now, the statement balance goes up and down every day based on the transactions that have been imported into the file, either through the bank feed or through you importing the transactions. Okay? Not every Xero file has access to bank feeds. I have clients in Fiji where there's no bank feeds in Fiji. So they need to be aware of what the statement balance is before they export out the files out. And when they import their transactions in for the day or the last few days, they know to check the statement balance when they're finished. So it doesn't matter if it's bank feeds or you're doing it manually. As soon as you've manually imported the transactions, check your statement balance. Is your statement balance the same as what was in the file yesterday? Yes, it was. Okay, we can move on. All right. So I'm going to show you now the way that I find problems, and then we're going to go through all the really common problems and how they're caused. Okay. So the way that I find a problem Once I know the conversion balance date is right, and the conversion date is right and the conversion balance is right, I then go to Manage Account and the reconciliation report. There's lots of other ways to get the reconciliation report, but that's one way. We're going to use the business bank account here as an example. Here's the bank reconciliation summary. The bank reconciliation summary gives us the breakdown of the difference between the balance in Xero and the statement balance. The balance in Xero and the statement balance we saw on the front screen. This is Xero telling us what makes up the difference. Now in here, here's the 28, this unreconciled bank statement lines. That's the 28 unreconciled statement lines that were sitting that we could see with the big blue button, reconcile 28 lines. Press that button, reconcile the transactions lines, and all these ones will be gone. There's still going to be these two transactions here. And if you know Xero well enough, you're going to know that they are the yellow unreconciled transactions. We'll talk about them a bit more in a minute. The other thing that this report tells you, but I don't like to focus on it too much because it doesn't work for everybody, is this imported statement balance. See, we're lucky in this particular case because this particular bank, and this is a demo file with Bank West, but this particular bank, when they import their bank feeds into Xero, they actually tell Xero what the closing statement balance was of that day, as of that day. And I can see here that it was the imported statement balance as of the 29th of March was $4,094.12. So I don't have to go and ask the client, what was the statement yesterday? It's here. But I don't teach people this as the only way to do it because many banks, many bank feeds don't give you that balance. So I don't even really focus on it at all because you can't use it in all cases. I'm going to show you how you do it in all cases, which is what we're here for. So let's go up the top here. And the most important tab that I want to talk about today is the bank statement tab. So we've gone to the reconciliation report, we go to bank statement. In the bank statement report here, it is showing you all of the included statement lines. It's the other part of that equation that creates the bank statement balance. So if we look here, I'm going to just put it back to the 27th of December for the ease of this demonstration, okay? On the 27th of December 2014, that was our conversion date that we saw before, here is the opening balance of this bank account, the conversion date. How did that balance get there? That balance got there because we put it on the conversion balances screen. The way that you work out where there is a problem with your statement lines is you come in here and you look at this report and you find when it was last correct, maybe when it was last correct, or you don't even know, maybe when it was last correct was the conversion date. If that was 2 years ago, you're probably not going to go back that far, but you are going to find when it was last correct. So find in the file when it was last correct. If you can't find anywhere, go back to the conversion date. And what you need to do is you need to put the from date from when you know it was last correct, or the conversion date if you're not sure, to now. And then you look at the opening balance, make sure that you've got your paper statement in front of you, make sure that was right, and we've already done that with our conversion balance. Then you go through every single transaction or look down the running balance and look through every transaction and you find where it goes wrong. Sometimes when you look at it, when you've got lots and lots of transactions in one day, here for example, here's three transactions on the 13th of January. Sometimes when you look at the running balance on that day, you might think that it's incorrect because these transactions are around the wrong way. Maybe they show up different on here than what they show up on the bank statement. So go looking for those. Don't just write off the 13th of January. Make sure you look all the way through to the 13th of January. But that's how you find a problem. You do that once, you keep an eye on it, and you're then going to get to the point that your statement balance will never be out. You'll just keep an eye on it and you know if something's wrong straight away. So just to clarify, it is that simple in terms of fixing or finding the statement balance problems in order to fix them. I'm going to show you exactly some how people cause problems in a second, but that is how we find the problem. We get the opening balance, we check the running balance, we can have the paper statement in front of us or in a PDF file from the client, and we check the balance, check the transactions. until we find the problem. Okay, so what are some reasons for the differences? There's 4 reasons. Deleted statement lines, missing statement lines, manually entered statement lines, and duplicate statement lines. There's 3 ways to delete statement lines. Let me show you one. I'll show you all 3. Let me show you one first. Go to the dashboard, go to the reconcile screen, and you can press this button here. Oh, getting started, jumped up on me. You can press this button here. That will delete a statement line. You delete a statement line there on a transaction that obviously existed because it came through the bank feed, then you're going to be deleting a statement line. It's going to affect the statement balance. That's one way. Another way to delete a statement line is to go to Manage Account and go to Bank Statements. Under Bank Statements, that's where we can find all our imported transactions that have come through bank feeds or that you've imported through a CSV file. If I click on this, I can look through here and look, I can tick one and delete it if I want to. If it has been deleted, it will have a little red mark on it so you can tell if it's been deleted. And it also shows up on the Statement Exceptions report. If we look down the bottom here, you can also delete an entire statement. That's the 3rd way to delete statement lines. The next thing that you want to have a look at, missing statement lines. Now, the most common way that people miss statement lines is that they set up the bank feed, and so they set up the Xero file, they put in the conversion balance, they set up the bank feed. People often know that they need to import the bank transactions from a said date till now. So what are we now? It's, I don't even know what date it is. It's 30th of March. Let's say we've opened this Xero file now. We import all of we've decided our conversion balance date is going to be the 28th of February. So our conversion balance is the 28th of February, we put that in correctly, then we import the transactions in from the 1st of March until 30th of March. Then we've got those in, we set up the bank feeds and we go on our way. We forget about that client, move on to the next one. But what's the most important thing? People often forget to import the statement lines between that day that they imported, so the 30th of March, and when the bank feed starts. If they don't train the client to look at the statement balance and check it, then it's easy to forget if you don't finish off your process. So you need to make sure, let's say that bank feed starts on the 4th of April, you then need to make sure that you import the transactions from the 31st of March until the 4th of April. The other thing that can happen is that people miss the statement lines on the CSV bank statement. So some of you have probably seen or been able to create a CSV bank statement yourself. I'm just going to open up a workbook file and show you how simple it is. You probably know how to do this already, but I just want to show you how I also do the running balances, okay? So here you should be able to see my file. I'm just going to write at the top, I'm going to write date, I'm going to write amount, I'm going to write description, and balance. We'll put in the date as today. The amount is minus $5 and say it's a bank fee. And we'll put a balance there for now because we're going to calculate it. And then we'll put in the 30th of March again. And we're going to say $40 and we're going to say deposit. And that's it. Okay? What I do here is I put my opening balance in here. Let's say my opening balance in my account was $2,000. Then I say the balance of my bank account equals 2,000, and then I add that, and then I do that one. Then in this one here, equals that balance plus the movement, which is that equals that. Okay? You can then keep adding the transactions and then drag down the balance to keep going down if you had lots and lots and lots. Okay? I'm going to assume that a lot of you know how to do that. If you need us to show you more on the formulas, then you can. But here, this is the date, the amount, the description, and the balance. So before you can put in hundreds of transactions off a bank statement into here. If you don't put your balance, if you don't check your running balance in here, then you're going to get to the point where you may have put in $5.05 and you shouldn't have, or you should have and you didn't, and you don't know, and you import it into Xero, and then you may have lots of transactions to look at. So we need to save this file as a CSV, and then we can import it into Xero as a statement. This importing transactions into Xero, I think, is one of the most powerful things that Xero can do, and I suggest that you do it for any missing statement lines. If you go to here to manage account and then import a statement, we'll go to browse. I'm not sure where I just saved that file. Hang on a minute, I'll save it somewhere more useful. It's probably in one of my other folders. Open. We'll save it on the desktop, then I can find it. Now you might be thinking at this point, but you haven't deleted out the balance. How is it going to work? How's the template going to work? Well, what happens is you just tell Xero to ignore that column. Xero here is looking at my date, my amount, and my description, and if you leave the other columns that are there unassigned, then it means that they're not actually just going to be ignored by Xero. So if we hit save, we can import those two transactions and we're done. I always tell people to import the transactions even if they're only putting in 1 or 2 transactions. And the reason for that is because the function of being able to remove and redo transactions in order to fix them is the most efficient way, because if you have a transaction and then you remove and redo, that means that the transaction gets removed from the ledger and put back in the reconcile screen in order for you to redo it again. If you don't put it, if you put it in manually and you delete it from the ledger, or remove and redo, it is just going to delete it, and then you have to put it back in manually again to be able to find it. So when you have missing transactions, import them in as a CSV bank statement. If you can't import them from your internet banking, or if it's only 1 or 2, it's quicker to just do a CSV off the bank statement if you've got it in front of you instead of going into the internet banking. And always run a balancing check on the running balance before you import it, so you're not having to go try and find it in the big massive transactions, which some will bank feed, some will CSV. Okay, my next major reason is duplicate transactions. Now, we've got 2 things to look at here. One, first of all, is when we go to import a statement, let's go back to import a statement and have a look at the options of the types of files that we can import. It took me a while using Xero to actually know this tip, so I'm passing it on to you now. So if you're new or old to Xero, you may already know this if you're old to Xero, but let's just have a look. You know that if once you've got your bank feed set up, we're sorted. But sometimes you have to download the bank transactions from the bank feed, from the internet banking of the client or of your own business. Now when you do that, Xero recommends an OFX file. If you can't find an OFX file, which some banking providers don't provide, then you should use a QAF file. If you can't get either of those, which I doubt because you should always be able to get a QAF file, but if you can't, then you use their CSV file option, but you should only do it in this order. Now, you may already know that. The important tip I have here is to avoid duplicate transactions, always use the same file type. For example, some banks like ANZ give you the option for an OFX download or a QAF download. If you import an OFX file and then you come back later and you import a QAF file and you've imported the same dates, so you've overlapped some dates, which is a great thing to do because then you don't have to think about it too hard. But if you do it with 2 different file types, the first time a QAF and the second time an OFX or vice versa, Xero cannot always recognize the duplicates. Sometimes it can, but not always. So I don't like to rely on Xero to pick up on that. I go through the process of making sure that I record what type of file type I use for that client, and I use the same one every time. Because think of them like two different languages. It might be saying exactly the same thing but in different languages. When Xero looks at it, it can't see the duplicate in that particular case. All right? So always use the same file type to avoid duplicates. Then you can overlap dates as long as you're using the same file type. Now, one other tip I have to show you in terms of finding duplicate transactions, and can sometimes be for other reasons as to why you would do this, but let's go back to the bank statement screen. When I say the bank statement screen, I mean the one in the bank reconciliation report. So bank reconciliation report, bank statement. Now, a little tip for you here is being able to find a transaction that's a problem. For example, remember there was the out of balance amount of $148.50. You could do Control F or Command F if you're on a Mac. I am on a Mac, to find a missing amount. Okay, so to find what that might be out by, or if you know you're out by $500, you can do that. So let me show you the tip here. So I'm going to do Control F. And see on my computer up the top here, I get this little find bar. It's just the same as using find in Xero, in Excel. Find and replace, or not find and replace, but find. So I Command F on my computer, and it comes up with, and I've typed in 500. There's 3 500s on this page. There's one here with 3.5. There's this one, and there's another one down here. But they're all part of another one. Let's try 550. If you look up 550, you'll see all the 550 transactions. Looking here, maybe I can see these two aren't duplicates because one's Rex Media, one's Xero Transport, and they've got different references, but they could have been duplicates, and you could have seen that by looking up those particular things. All right, another one is 3,500. Note that I put in 3,500 because Xero has commas, and if I put in 3,500 without the comma, nothing comes up. So make sure you put the comma if you're dealing with thousands or hundreds of thousands. Okay, there's our little tip in relation to finding some of those transactions. We actually have more, and some of them you may know, but we actually do have a few more, but we're going to put them in the Become an Expert Bookkeeper course. And they're just little ones that I've told you everything you need to know in order to find the transaction. But yes, there's actually some more here that we have, and if we've got time, we'll go through it now in question time. But I have already gone over time. So let me finish my last thing I want to tell you in this short webinar of how to fix the statement balance, and then we're going to come and answer any questions that you have. The last reason, I've gone through those other reasons that I've said. Let's just recap on the 5 things that you need to look for. Starting with number 1, the statement balance equals the conversion balance plus any included statement lines. We know how to check the conversion balance and what to do when we get there. We know how transactions can be deleted and how we can find them. We know how to find missing statement lines and the reasons why statement lines get missed. We know how to look for duplicate transactions and how to avoid creating duplicate transactions. The final reason was manually entered statement lines. If we look here under manually entered statement lines, sorry, I'm reading my thing obviously, manually entered statement lines are those that have been marked as reconciled. Sorry, manually entered statement lines are transactions that have been manually entered, so we're talking spend money, receive money, you've entered in new spend money, receive money from either the main screen or the map screen, somewhere you've gone and manually entered a transaction, and then you've marked it as reconciled. That creates a statement line. Now you might find that problem by doing this, going into this bank statement screen and checking the running balance as I've shown you. You may find it that way. You may find it by going to the statement exceptions report, which is the next report along, which tries to help you identify the duplicates and the deleted transactions and the manual transactions. It tries to do that, but I don't find it foolproof, so that's why I teach people to go through this bank statement, because that's the quickest way to just go and find it, find the problem and fix it. The way that I like to find the manually entered transactions that have been marked as reconciled is very, very simple. Go to your dashboard. click the name of the account to go straight to the account transaction screen. In the account transaction screen, no matter how many transactions you have, press status up the top here. Press status, and it will bring any unreconciled transactions to the top and any transactions that have been reconciled and force reconciled. The way you can recognize those, this file doesn't have any, is that this reconcile word will be black. If a transaction has come through a bank feed and it's been reconciled off a bank feed, or if an imported CSV file, it will be green, yellow reconciled. If it's been force reconciled and manually entered into Xero and force reconciled, the reconciled button, that word will be black. They are potential transactions that didn't actually happen. And if you see a black reconciled transactions, what do? You go to your bank statement, check it happened. If it didn't happen, it's not supposed to be there, it's causing a problem with your statement balance. All right. That was my explanation of how to fix a statement balance fast. Why the statement balance is so important, what the statement balance is, and how to fix the statement balance. For those of you that are only new to the work that Angela and I do, we do have more training, a lot more training coming up this month, and that has already been released and recorded and out there in the world. One of the ones that you may find most valuable if you have been busy, which we're all very busy, is the Xero release summary video that we just did on the past, what was it, last Tuesday? Yeah, the release that was on the 24th of March. We've done a video summary of that, and you can find it at the link below, ecosystemexpertacademy.com, Xero-release-March. So that's what you can find there, is the details of everything that was released that day, except inventory. I've got something a little bit more special coming up with inventory, which is a training series, a 2-hour short course on everything that everybody needs to know about Xero inventory and exactly how to use it. So if you'd like details of that, feel free to contact us. You can contact us at the 2 emails that are on the screen. So jerry@jerrymurphy.com or angela@businesszen.com.au, or on Twitter. Our handles are written down there. That's how you can contact us to ask a question about any of our further training that we have. Under the Xero Release March video, if you get to that page, I'll just flick back to there quickly. If you get to that page here, I might, I'll paste it into the chat box for you whilst we're in question time. The links there, that underneath that link is where you will find a link to joining our free training series. So this is obviously the first one. Next, the next Monday that we have, not the public holiday, not Easter Monday, but the 13th of March, we have a session on that Angie's running called Xero Payroll Tips That No One Bothers to Tell You. And we're excited about that session because both of us have been heavily involved in the past in Xero. I deliver a payroll specialist training course for Xero, and Ange was involved in helping me write that course when we wrote it a while ago. And there's still things that Xero doesn't include in their partner specialist training or in the videos and the payroll training that we know and we deal with on a regular basis through the work that we do all the time. So next session, and you can join that by going to ecosystemexpertacademy.com. I'm pretty sure it's free Xero training, but as long as you go to that Xero Release March, you will get every other bit of free training that we have for you. So thank you everybody for joining me today. Have a fantastic day, and we'll see you all soon. And we'd love if you could please share a recording of this video around to any Xero users that you know, because hopefully, just like we believe so strongly, the Xero statement balance, that yes, it's something weird to be a bit passionate about, but the Xero statement balance is something that we know if you get that right, then you can get so much further. Everything else just starts falling into place with those Xero files.